Hola Madrid, this is welcome back to another episode of Let's Be Real podcast. Tonight it's a pretty special episode in all regards, Basically, first episode of the season, basically a curtain raiser for 23-24. After a somewhat, exciting but kind of an uncertain preseason, in my humble opinion. Like some people were kind of pretty impressed with what they saw, and but me and Jacob, we had to ride the wave on few occasions, but I think we came out with a bit more hope maybe than we had at the start of preseason. But welcome our esteemed panel. I would like to introduce you all to Mr. Siddharth. We'll be calling him as Sid. He'll be our official, de facto reporter, on the field guy for us from the Bernabeu. It's an absolute pleasure to finally have you on the show. Sid, bro, how's it going? How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. There's always an eeriness of excitement when the new season is coming in. I think 7 more days to kick off. So it's always a great week to look forward to, especially when you're standing outside the mecca of world football. So I'm very happy and I'm glad to be joining you guys.
100%, bro. Yeah, the way the way you said Mecca of football, like it perfectly encapsulates what the stadium means to all of us. Like we yearn to be there in person, but inshallah someday. But Siddharth, bro, like tell us about your background. What did you do? How were you actually based in Madrid? What's your journey like, basically?
So I come from a small town in India called Jamshedpur, Jharkhand, and I was very much into football since I was like, sixth grade, fifth grade, and Zidane was the best player according to me, and I started following football seriously during 2006, during the 2006 World Cup. And started following Real Madrid, thinking, I'm going to follow Zidane after the World Cup. I didn't know that he's going to retire after that World Cup, but that's where the journey started in. And from there, I went to I did media, English, and psychology in a city called Bangalore in India, where I was so much again into football. Where I used to support this club called Bengaluru FC. They have a player right now. His name is Javi Hernandez. He's a Real Madrid youth academy product, and he's also the nephew of Real Madrid legend Guti. So that's a good connection.
That's mad. That's mad.
And then from there, I came to Madrid for I worked in India for 3 years. Then I came to Madrid for my master's, completed my master's in communication. And I was, to be honest, a very weird story. Sometime in the future, I might tell you guys. But I was actually watching the game between Real Madrid and PSG when Karim the Dream scored that dream-esque hat trick and kicked our future signings team out of the Champions League and went on to win the 14th, the La Decimo Cuarta. And through that, I got a chance. I think I was the only person in the stadium who recorded the third goal on my phone. So if you remember, there's a difference. There's a VAR call after the second goal to see if Modric, when he found Benzema, if he was offside or not. And then Real Madrid kicked off, and then PSG kicked off, and on the counter, Real Madrid scored. Lucky enough to record that video, and that led me to Real Madrid TV. And I got to work at Real Madrid TV for 8, 9, for a season, the last season basically. And I was the first Indian to be associated with Real Madrid TV. So it's been long, but it's been crazy. I watched a lot of games there, sitting at that stadium. And I've felt it as well. Like I've seen the City game where Rodrigo scored, Goy scored twice in a minute to take to the final, and I've seen a lot of crazy moments. Seen Vinicius goal live against Sevilla. I've seen Karim Benzema's last goal at the Bernabeu. So a lot of things, but it's been a crazy ride, and I'm glad to be here again, getting more content and more exciting things for you.
100%, bro. Like it's an absolute pleasure to have you on the team. So what would you exactly classify you'll be doing with us as? Like what are you going to be, what is going to be on your agenda on a day-to-day basis?
Wow, that sounds like a very formal, like a
No, but just so that
senior.
the people know. Just so
So
that the people know.
I think my idea here would be to get content, reaction, and get you the atmosphere before and after the games at the Bernabeu. Because there are, if a great season is happening, Real Madrid almost play like 27, 28 matches at home, including like if they go all the way to the Copa del Rey and the Champions League. So my idea would be to get content for you guys all the time outside the Estadio Santiago Bernabeu, so that we can see how people are reacting. Because when you watch something on TV, it's something is shown to you, but when you're watching football in the stadium, that's when you realize you get like a bird's eye view of what's happening, who's playing well, what's going wrong. And there's a small dog which is about to join me on the podcast, so I got scared. But yeah, Madrid is a very dog friendly city. But the idea would be to get the atmosphere of the Bernabeu around and speak to fans why they love coming to the stadium week in and week out, support the club, their reactions, what do they look forward to in the future, what do they want in the future, how are apart from Mbappe, that is what I mean. How are they gonna react to Vinicius with number 7, Rodrigo with number 11, and possibly the last season of Modric Cruz. A lot of things. Looks like a very exciting season, and my idea would be to get you as much content from Madrid so that you can feel okay. So the audience feels more closer to the stadium in itself and the club.
100%. I think that's what we kind of established while bringing said onto the team. Obviously, his expertise in the world of football journalism and obviously working for Real Madrid TV is a huge plus. He knows the ins and outs. He knows some of the personnel working at the club as well. So it is a massive acquisition, at least from my humble perspective, because I reached out to Sid. It was a shot in the dark, which I didn't expect anything to come out of, but he was very warm, from the get go. So again, I would like to reiterate, it's an absolute pleasure to finally have you on the family, man. But another guy who has been super busy in Milan. We have been trying to reach out to this person through his personal assistants and whatnot. But Farouk has been super busy. But we would like to extend our extreme gratitude for for Farouk to finally make it onto the podcast after like a good month away. Bro, how has Milan treated you? I hope it has been better than the last time we spoke.
Well, same old, man. There is nothing new. It's just a city that has been overhyped, but then we're here doing what we can do. So yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, it's great to have Sid on board as well. I'm really excited to see, how it's gonna be, because that's something that I feel like is lacking. I mean, English content rather, it's lacking in the sense that that bridge between we the fans who are away from Spain and the Bernabeu itself. Like I think it's a bridge that has been lacking up for, and hopefully, I mean, with Sid we can just fix that and create that connection. Obviously it's not gonna be exactly a physical connection, but even the virtual connection matters. That reaction of before and after, and the atmosphere at the Bernabeu is fantastic. And I must confess, I am really really jealous of City. Like experiencing the games against City, against Paris, and that's just outrageous, and many other moments honestly. So yeah. Sid, if one day someone kidnaps you or rather swaps your body, you wake up and you feel like, oh, where am I? That my jazz people have done some of their juju, man. That's why you're in a different orientation.
No, not the kind of welcome I was expecting. Kidnapping my body on the first podcast.
I mean that's what we do, man. We're straight out, man. We shoot straight, man. We don't hide in the dark or shit like that, man.
Yeah, man. I'm kidding. But yeah, have been special moments for sure. But I'm glad to
100%.
meet you, man, virtually. E-meet you. That's the term people use these days, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Farouk has promised me, like, unlike last year, this year he's gonna be much more active. Farouk and the panel had a special, connection that was built upon, the very first year of this podcast. Like he was one of those guys who basically helped us push this podcast to the next level. Last year he was kind of caught up with his academics and whatnot. This year, hopefully, we'll have a lot more of with the old school panel running, which I'm super excited for. But Jacob, man, a mad month of preseason, doing watch-alongs, sometimes wondering why are we even here. But finally, 6 days to go for the season. How are you feeling, bro? How's it going?
Yeah, well, man, at least the watch longs didn't go as expected. I You always mention like whenever we see a watch along, it doesn't pan out well for us. Maybe we are the curse for Madrid that we hit the post so many times across this whole preseason. But then it's always been fun, like having all of these guys in the chat, keeping us company. I mean, Farouk said everything with like all of the exclusive content we're going to be getting from Sid. But then, you know what I'm more excited for? Like, I'm a fan of bloopers. So I can't wait for like a bunch of drunk Madrid fans just hassling Sid and then coming onto the camera, getting some funny moments on camera, man. Yeah, that's what I'm looking forward
Especially
And
if it's a big result and whatnot.
to. Exactly.
man, like to be honest, the street where I'm standing, so it's basically 15 bars to my left, 15 bars to my right, and every like before a game, that's where the so you guys know the story about the ultras and all, right? Like, so this is where they gather to start drinking and prepping for the game. So this is the place to be.
100%. It's gonna get wild, So I'm pretty sure, like we're gonna invest in a couple of bodyguards for you, So hopefully, hopefully
Prefer
you know
the
you're
makeup woman.
the makeup woman is more important, yeah. I get your
Yeah,
priorities, bro.
look good on camera.
Right. Fair enough. Let's dive into our predictions for preseason. I mean, for the season. So no better place to start, than preseason and the transfers. Um, when we actually brought up, like how we would like to tackle, the season preview. Like, many of you guys wanted to talk about the transfers. I guess Jude Bellingham speaks for himself. There's nothing much to, really, um, you know, comment further about, how he has kind of gelled with the team and left a mark of impression on so many of the naysayers early on in the preseason. But any other names that we would like to discuss as a transfer alone? Maybe Brahim Diaz, Jose Lu, if you guys want to go there. Who should we start with? Jacob, should we start with Brahim or
Yeah, I feel like Brahim is like the most low-profile signing that we've had this transfer window. So yeah, that's a good place to start. I mean, I'm not really excited, man, but just seeing him getting his few minutes in preseason, his connection with Bellingham, like that was very encouraging to see, like for the first game of the preseason. But beyond that, like I don't feel like Carlo actually rates him too much, at least from what I've seen from preseason. So I don't think it's like there's going to be a huge impact. But whenever we have players missing out with suspension or God forbid injury, I feel like he can step it up because he has some special connection with like a few players, namely Bellingham and Lucas Vazquez.
Farouk? You didn't watch preseason much. You told me, but Brahim as a signing, um, like did it like bring any sort of excitement for you, like knowing what kind of role he'll be having and whatnot?
I mean, excitement is a very, very, I think even maybe only his girlfriend will, associate Brahim Diaz and excitement together. I mean, so because of that, I don't think, like Brahim Diaz and excitement. But then the thing is that, credit where it's due. You need bodies, the loss of Marco Asensio, like whatever you think of him or whatever I personally think of him, he was a body that gave you 10 goals a season guaranteed, you understand? So I think Brahim Diaz might not get that much of a role. Similar to
Said, can you just mute your mic, bro? Can you just mute your mic because the background noise is kind of deafening. Right, go on, Farouk.
Yeah, so I was just gonna say, like, I don't think Diaz is gonna get as much games as as Asensio got last season. But the point is, he's gonna get some games, and hopefully in those games, he'll be able to put something. But one common criticism that you had with Brahim with AC Milan fans was that Brahim was a player who played when he wanted to play. Like he was a player who like did not care, like kind of person. I don't know if that's the right word. but like he was a player who played when he wanted to play. So the question is, will we get to see him on the days he wants to play, or
I don't
what's he
think
gonna
work
be
ethic
like?
was ever a problem with Brahim. No, I don't think so. But he can blow hot and cold. It's not down to him. It's purely just down to his ability. And his position in the modern game is non-existent. Like, he's a 10. Let's face it, he's a 10. We don't play with a 10. Milan men played with a 10, and when the game was actually flowing through him, he had his best moments with them. But like we said, like you said, he isn't exactly the guy who is going to give you a 8 out of 10 week in, week out.
So the thing is that, as you said perfectly, when the game flows through him, he's
Mm.
at Real Madrid, the game will never flow through him.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is the thing, you understand. So
Mm.
what's gonna happen then, or what's not gonna happen then? Well, I said, like, we need bodies. The departure of Marco Asensio, we need bodies, honestly. And Diaz is just another player, and he's Spanish, 1+, if you guys count that as a plus. So he qualifies as homegrown, so hence it's fine. Like, I'm not excited, as I said. It's just another body to fill in the gaps.
Fair enough. Joselu, Sid, I'm going to come to you. Regarding Joselu, like, have you seen him? Have you seen him play in person? How do you gauge his signing is going to turn out to be? Like, is it much needed backup, or is he going to be a solution that's going to help us score more goals indefinitely?
I think it would be very harsh if we put a lot of responsibilities on Joselu being the Real Madrid striker. That's a position with the magnanimity of the club is always of a high profile player. So even I don't think the management or even the coach is gonna, think of him getting like 30 goals a season. But what I do expect him is to score anything between 10 to 15 goals a season, because it will all depend on how Carlo Ancelotti plans to set up. Because in the preseason, we saw him trying a diamond formation. That's where Brahim also can come in, because he's more of a number 10 than a right winger. But if he resorts to a 4-3-3, then Joselu becomes the main striker. Then probably Brahim becomes like a backup right winger to Rodrigo. So it's also going to depend a lot on that, because we saw how Vinicius and Rodrigo were the main center forwards. And unless we make a star name signing as a center forward, the only center forward we have is Joselu. So we do expect, like, we know that Vinicius can score 20 goals a season and get you 20 assists a season. Last season, Rodrigo also did 15 goals and 15 assists. So they have, and Real Madrid players have a knack of taking responsibility for scoring goals. Somebody sometimes just steps up. Like, we have seen Marcelo score like more than 10 goals. But if you depend on other positions apart from a striker to score goals, there is a flaw. And I see Joselu more as a backup striker, somebody who's going to score 10 to 15. But I would not put a lot of responsibility. I would not have a lot of expectations from him.
It was pretty evident, the way now I think it's only apt that we move on to the takeaways from preseason and
We're not
and
gonna
how some of these.
discuss about Fran Garcia.
Fran Garcia is better discussed in the context of the preseason, because their flaws and how they contribute to the team was glaringly obvious, in preseason. Since we're on Joselu, like, I would like to address the fact that the way he scored against United was a peach, an acrobatic volley, what a way to actually get your first goal and whatnot. But from there on in, he missed some very gilt-edged chances, which I completely expected him to put away. A striker of his ilk, who is purely a poacher, and his experience, I expect him to bury those chances. But unfortunately, he seemed lacking in so many areas. But we knew it was going to be a limited Arsenal that he's going to possess. But sometimes the sole fact that we don't have a focal point up top really took the life out of me. In no dimension I expected a guy like Joselu to be leading our line. No disrespect on Joselu, but we are a club that aspires to, like fight on all fronts, win every fucking competition we are, in. But um, Jacob, I would like to, hear your opinion on how Joselu kind of can bridge the gap between a goal scoring option and someone being a backup. It is a fine line. Like Sid said, like you can't exactly put so much expectation on him.
For me, like I have even lesser expectations for Joselu. So last season, if you look at him, like he started in majority of the games, and still he was like able to get so many goals only. So you can't expect him to like get fewer minutes and score the same amount of goals. That's just not a possibility. Like even if you are playing with a better team, like strikers need to be on form, play regularly, be in touch.
Sorry, Jacob, to interject. I just want to like back your point up by stats. He played 34 games last season in La Liga with 16 goals and 2 assists.
Which I think is a good number for a team which got relegated.
That's true.
He played
But
34 games, though. That's the key point. He played 34 games and he
Yeah.
got 16 goals.
But out of the 34, how many were those like proper 90 minutes? But because my point here, like I agree with Jacob on the fact that there's a lot of pressure also comes when you play for a club like Real Madrid. So can he also take that? And I think that was the major reason why probably he was not clinical enough in preseason, but he did score a great volley, which is also his second goal, by the way. The first was assisted by Cristiano Ronaldo, if you remember.
Yeah, 2013 or 2012 or something. Yeah, I've seen it. But Joselu, like we all agree, I guess, it's not much of a case for him. Like if things really doesn't go his way, nobody's gonna be, pointing fingers. I'm not gonna be pointing fingers at Joselu. I'm gonna be pointing fingers at the board, because Mbappe is right here, and we are basically hanging on to our ego in hope that, next year there's not going to be PSG and Nasser Al Khelaifi in our way to get to Mbappe. But without him, our season is basically a wrap. Even before a ball is kicked. But that's just me. Right. What should we tackle next? The fullback situation. We'll get onto.
But sorry,
guys.
I just want to make a point. Shane. The point is like we keep focusing on the point about the stats and like thereof. But what about Joselu being the man who links up the play? I haven't seen too much of him, but like I don't know if you guys have seen what he did in preseason. Like, is he the kind of, for example, we saw like Olivier Giroud, for example. Giroud isn't the guy who's going to score
nowhere near. Nowhere near.
No,
obviously not nowhere near. But I mean, is he a player that can bring like Vinicius and Rodrigo into play, or like is he just that?
He can to an extent, but Olivier Giroud is one of the benchmarks for linking up play. Like he's basically.
I'm not saying he's gonna be Giroud. He can be like 3, 4, 5 versions below Giroud, and he still be fine.
Yeah, I mean,
that's the thing.
Farouk will say this.
Yeah, but
at least he's like better than Mariano. That's what I would say. He can drop in deep and.
I mean, but that's not high praise, man. Like, I mean, you're better than Mariano. Even I'm better than Mariano to some extent. I mean.
So that's what I said. So when I tell you that, Olivier Giroud and Joselu has a big gap, then you're arguing with me that, he can still help. Bro, there is helping, and then there is actually
I'm not
contributing.
Saying he can still help. What I'm saying to you, Sunil, is that the point I'm trying to make here is that I just gave Olivier Giroud as an example. Obviously, when you look at link-up strikers right now, there are very few, even strikers that are very good, like strikers like Harry Kane. Still, they're not as good link-up players as Olivier Giroud because he was the benchmark. You mean at least in that role, the role of not scoring goals, but rather being the person who brings others into play. So I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying that even if he's 4 or 5 versions below Giroud, he's fine as long as he can link up the play. You understand? It's just, for example, I mean, I can give you an example of, let's say, old school, old-fashioned strikers, you understand? For example, I've seen a little bit of Dusan Vlahovic, and I see like he's not a player who can link up very well, you understand? He's trying to build that up, but he's not a player who can link up, which means that I need to service this guy and only service him, not expect him to, bring my players into play. So this is what I was just asking, because you guys had seen the preseason. Like, was that those kind of, layups, holding up the ball, bringing players into play, things like that?
Yes, there was a bit of it, but nothing to write home about. Nothing to, like, I would like to hear what Sid and Jacob thought, but.
Yeah, I mean, he did drop deep a few instances. He kept the ball circulation moving near the center of the park. but he's not the person who can hold up the ball and play those final balls through to bring Vinicius and then Rodrigo into play. He's more of someone who can drop deep and keep the ball moving, but that's just about it.
Yeah,
Mm.
I agree with Jacob. Like he can drop in, but even like when you're saying that if he is levels below Giroud, but even if he's levels below Giroud, is he clinical enough to deliver trophies? Like levels below Giroud won't do for a club like Real Madrid. You have to think that way as well. That's the standards that have been set. Like Karim Benzema was one of those, probably 2013 to 15, 16, like when Gareth Bale was having those issues. But I think it'll be like a lot of responsibility on him if you do like expect him to link up Rodrigo and Vinicius. I think Jude Bellingham is probably going to be playing in that role more like a false number 9, more advanced number 10. But I don't expect Jose Lu to start most of the games as well, depending on the setup. And Ancelotti said in his press conference, they are trying a 4-4-2 diamond. Ancelotti once has been very successful with it with AC Milan 2003 to 2007. He was also a move that backfired for him when he signed James Rodriguez at Bayern Munich to make him play as that number 10 with two strikers up front. And that backfired and he was sacked. And the fact that Vinicius and Rodrigo both are not clinical strikers, like they're not out and out number 9s. So there's a lot of gray area coming in. The only natural striker right now, optionally, we have is Jose Lu. One good point about him, though, is also like he's also the main striker for Spain right now with Morata. So it's always in the Spanish starting lineup when they won the UEFA Nations League, right? They're playing so, but it's also how you perceive and how they set up. But I don't think he's gonna do enough to link up play, or he could, but I don't expect him to do that.
Let's talk about the diamond. Let's talk about the diamond. Through the diamond, we can talk about like our fullback situation and whatnot. So for me, the diamond was a good experiment. It was a needed experiment. We needed some sort of a fresh idea to kind of incorporate the best abilities of most of the new signings, and especially Jude Bellingham, who possesses a very keen eye for goal, has the vision to pick up a pass, has the work rate to kind of like stitch up the midfield and the attack. What Sid and so many of us, like even on the watch along, we were saying with Mo, like if you remember, Jacob, that Vinicius and Rodrigo, they're not exactly center forwards, right? And especially Vinicius is a guy who would like the width always, all the time. Rodrigo not so much. Rodrigo kind of likes to play inside a bit more. But is the diamond with our current crop of players a realistic solution moving forward, Jacob? Like is it gonna fetch us the kind of success that we anticipate?
Man, the reality is we have no other option. Let's say Mbappe doesn't come this for some unknown reason, and we have no other option apart from playing the diamond. We just don't have the personnel to play the 4-3-3 anymore. If we have to take advantage of the fact that Bellingham is here. So in that case, do I believe that we can actually win trophies and then be consistent? It would take a miracle, man. Like it would be exactly like Courtois said. It needs to be a team effort. The midfield has to chip in with goals. Valverde has to score fucking 20 goals. That's the benchmark.
One thing which when Jacob is saying like if it's like an experiment, and he's very right, because like for me as a person, when Fran Garcia was signed, and this happened like last season, like midway into last season, one thing I was looking forward to see was how Fran Garcia links up with Vinicius Junior on the left wing, and Camavinga doesn't have to play as a left back. He moves into the midfield. Now with Vinicius playing a number like more like a inside forward, who will mostly be playing from the wing, cutting in. It's a very strange decision then. You could have probably shifted like David Alaba as a left back because he would contribute more and then have Rudiger and Militao. But you have Mendy as well. And the thing with when that I think Fran Garcia was signed with the idea that Karim Benzema will still be playing as the number 9, so that Garcia connects with Vinicius on the left wing. So now the positions you'll have to probably like I can't imagine the patterns of play where Garcia and Vinicius will be linking because I feel will be more linking towards the left central midfielder, maybe Toni Kroos, and the number 10 who we think is going to be Jude Bellingham. So this is like a lot of questions that come to my head with respect to the style of play.
Unless it's a flat 4-3-3, like I don't see how we can really, stick to basics, stick to what we know, and basically have players benefit from a mental picture that they're very used to. This diamond is going to take a lot of time to really get into motion, especially with us not having natural forwards. It's going to be even riskier. What we saw from preseason was that no matter how hard you try to kind of implement this formation with pseudo strikers, it's never going to work as well in the same way maybe when we had Cristiano and Benzema. Tas Saliba has a very good point here. He says, if only we would have gotten Kai Havertz, we wouldn't have been worrying about Mbappe now. Kai Havertz had like 3 big chances. I was watching the game, the Community Shield earlier, had like 3 big chances. Man couldn't hit a barn door. So that's my thing, yeah. Like,
and Arsenal Fan TV compared him to Kaka, by the way.
What?
Oh, I saw that as well. I saw that in the Forever Arsenal podcast, and Turkish, Turkish, who is a very keen follower of what we do, must love to Turkish always, man. But Turkish was taken aback by it as well. Like it's kind of outlandish that they compare Kai Havertz, who is very limited in my opinion, with someone who was one of the most, completely, one of the most complete footballers, of the past generation. But a reference point is needed, man. I'm telling you, a guy like Mbappe might help with the diamond formation, but with Mbappe, a 4-3-3 would be much more fluid, in my opinion, than a diamond. But talking about the diamond, and Fran Garcia and the whole full-back situation, Ferland Mendy is basically out of the picture as things stand. Farouk, like, do you think that someone like Mendy can make a stance where he can actually help out this season, or do you see him completely being relegated to second choice?
My honest opinion is that if Carlo Ancelotti has a game that will save his life today, Mendy starts ahead of Garcia. This is what I believe. And until I am shown otherwise, when we go to a game that matters and we actually see someone else start ahead of Mendy, then I will. But I feel like as long as Mendy is fit and ready to play, he will play. Because the problem has been about the issue about his availability. That's, I think, one of the reasons why, and the fact that we don't have any other fullback to compete with him. So it only makes sense that you need 2 fullbacks, hence the arrival of Fran Garcia. Well, actually, the point I would like to make is about the whole diamond thing that Sid tried to allude to earlier is the point that as I said, I didn't watch. I watched 0 preseason games because like they were in the US and like they were like 3 a.m. for me, so it's impossible to watch. So, anyways, what happens is that there are certain diamond formations that are actually 4-3-3s, but a number 10 plays as a false 9, in the sense that when you don't have the ball, you drop down into the middle of the pack to create overload, such that you're filled up. But once you have the ball, whoever is playing as your diamond either switches wide or moves forward into the box to become like, as a false 9 kind of role. So back to the point you're making, with Vinicius, not being able to link up with Garcia, I do think that will happen actually eventually. Because even when we played a 4-4-2 with Benzema and Vinicius, in the previous seasons where like, what's he called? Valverde was a false winger come midfielder, you understand? We had a 4-4-2, but even then, Vini was still on the left wing. He was drifting into central points. So I still think this is something that's still gonna happen because eventually, like this is what Vini is very good at. So I think And one thing we know is that Carlo is at best at allowing his players to what they know best. So I think he will not just all of a sudden, when he's already 1 million years old, go back and revert his style and ask, okay, if he can be a inverted forward or what he's not. So I do feel like this is what we will still see. But I think the position of being an inverted forward will be most likely focused more on Rodrigo, depending on what happens from now till the end of the season. Sorry, to the end of the transfer market. I think the position of being an inverted forward will most likely be focused on more on Rodrigo rather than Vinicius. I think Vinicius will still have that left wing and the combination with whoever is there to to exploit the left position and cutting inside and lack thereof. So I feel like the 4-4-2 might be a 4-4-2 on paper, but I think when the ball is being played, it just depends on, are you defending or are you attacking? In the offensive sense, I think it's going to be more of a 4-3-3 with a false nine or like a false winger. I don't know how it's going to happen eventually, but I think it's not going to be just a flat 4-4-2 formation.
That's what I was kind of insinuating on the watch along. Like if it's a breakaway, like if say we are defending a corner and we are on the counter attack, like I can see Vinicius hugging out wide. But if we are kind of trying to play out from the back and we are kind of setting up in a position which is too narrow, like I don't understand how Vinicius can really benefit from any of this. It's very difficult for me to envision, but we'll see. Right. Who else? Jude Bellingham, we have discussed on so many occasions. Like, I would like to hear what Farouk and Sid thought about Jude. I'll come to you first, Sid. Jude Bellingham, early impressions.
I think looks like he's settling in, and I think people are like the midfielders and his teammates are making him settle in fast as well. I think he's a player who can play multiple positions, and I think the Real Madrid as a club always thrives on players like that who can always play efficiently and impact the game from different positions. I definitely look forward to see him start a lot of games. I do expect that I don't expect him to be somebody who's be starting from the bench. Maybe from like starting of the season, he might get a rotational role until he gels in properly. But I do expect him to start and become that heart of that midfield. My but my initial impressions are that he's somebody who can score, create, link up play, defend, track back, and he has this. I think which we all of us saw when Toni Kroos made that pass for Vinicius again when he scored against Juve, the way he clapped. So the way he clapped to that part is like, oh man, that's savage. But it also shows that how much he wants to learn. Very less players are in that zone when you're 100 million signing. You won't be in that zone that I'm gonna listen, like I'm gonna be, you have that attitude that I'm gonna be learning in and out from Toni Kroos and Luka Modric. And even Toni Kroos in an interview, he said that he's asking a lot of questions, and that shows that he's very eager to learn. And I think he's a player who's going to be associated with Real Madrid for the next decade, minimum, I hope. Because he is one of those golden boys, and it's a great, signing for Real Madrid. And I hope he delivers when it starts. And no pressure on him as well, because the new signing settling in where a midfield is already there with Kroos and Modric, but I think he's gonna deliver.
He has to. He has to. Like you said, there's no pressure for the first season, but the price tag is gonna raise questions if performances dwindle. But Farouk, Jude Bellingham, man, like I anticipated last year, the summer before, where I told you guys that unlike your Fede, Jude Bellingham is a guaranteed goal scorer. I hope you see a bit of that now.
A bit of what? Not yet, man. Let's let the season start, then we can
Fair
can
enough.
talk
Fair
about
enough.
that.
Fair
Because
enough. But from
I
early
mean,
signs, you clearly see that he's a better goal scorer, has a better eye for the final pass, for the final, finishing move than Fede. It's pretty evident.
I would say I think he's a better link-up player, but I mean, when you say better goal scorer, I might not, want to agree with that, because like I've seen Fede score 10 plus goals, and I don't think Jude has done that. Has he done 10 plus goals as well?
Not yet, no, but
So
we'll see.
I
we'll
mean,
see.
obviously, like they're in different positions in their development, but I mean, currently, like because Ferry has done that and he's been there, done that, so I would want to, link with that. I think, as you said, like a better link-up player, 100%. I agree with you. Like, and that's the thing. Like, I choose to disagree with you guys when you guys say there is no pressure. Like, he's a marquee signing, so for sure there is pressure. And the point is that he's English, also, it brings additional pressure to that as well, because of how the English media is and like what is and what is not. So obviously, I mean, definitely like the team is going to give him betting him time. Like, this season is going to be just, to try to bet him in. And obviously, as Sid said, hopefully, he's linked with the team for the next 5-10 years. And everything looks, like it's just going to work out. So far, so good. It's looked like, it's all positive things. And that's the thing that, the more important thing, as we've seen with the more successful players that join the club, is how do they adapt to the team? How do they adapt to the teammates? I haven't seen the games, but I have seen clips of, the way he makes jokes with the players on the bench, the situation that Sid alluded to with the past with, close to Vinicius as well. So these kind of things, so he also speaks Spanish. Yeah, at least he tries to speak Spanish, that's also another positive as well. So he's making all the, right noises right now. But the point now becomes like, I don't want someone to make noises in June, I want you to make noises when April rolls around, when May rolls around, like that's when the noises should be made. And that's when, we will be able to have a verdict on if the 100 million was worth it or not. Obviously not this May, but hopefully by, the early of 2025, end of 2024, we should start to have a consensus on if, it's actually something that was worth the hype. Because as Cruz said, like we've had 100 million players who were like, should win, we're more guaranteed to perform more than whatever Bellingham promised to, because we had a player who was the best player in England for 5 straight years, and he came and he could not perform, you understand? So playing for the white collar honestly comes with a lot of pressure. We've seen that players who had better pedigree than him came and they all shrinked, under the spotlight. So I would just, say that for me personally, the jury is out, because, it's not just about, okay, he's done it, he's young, he has the mentality and this and that. No, like he needs to do it like on a cold night in the Champions League when all the chips are down.
Well, you're a hard man to impress. I'll tell you that. You didn't take very kindly to Kamavinga as well, but he shut you up. I hope Jude does the same. Yeah,
that's why we're in the business, man. Like it's all about shooting, and now, like I'm one of the biggest fans of Kamavinga. If you show me you can do stuff, it was the same with Freddie as well. I was skeptical, but if you show me you can do stuff, man, I'm gonna back you to the end of the world. But you're not just gonna come because he's done it and he's 19 and he was the captain of BVB. Yeah, I don't care. That was in Germany. Like he's come to Spain.
Yeah. I do have to correct Farouk at a place. You said Fede scored 10 goals. Man, he scored 10 bangers. He was not scoring. He was like scoring in, out, left, right, center, dribbling. Remember that?
But for me, it's a flash in a pan. Like I wouldn't bank my life on Fede scoring 10 goals a season again. Like that's just me. Like for me, I would like to see something much more substantial for me to completely believe in him as a goal scorer.
I think slowly last season he was taking the steps. So, no,
but after a while he fell off.
True.
Man, but
I think.
Well, the thing is that's the thing. Like we shouldn't just say after a while it fell off. Like let's understand the fact that last season wasn't an anomaly for him. Like what happened in his personal life, so it's not. So for that, like I mean, we should give credit where it's due at least. I can understand that you need to see more. One season is not enough. It's not enough data set.
He was also playing with an injured foot, if I'm not mistaken, as well. So
yeah, I mean, even if everything was perfect, like one season is not enough. I totally get your point. So like, he needs to do this again and again and again. Like it's not like flash in the pan thing. It has to be continuous.
Right. Go on, sir.
I was saying, like, I do have a question because it's getting dark and unfortunately I don't have flashlights. But I probably can start with Jacob on this. What do you think is going to be the starting midfield, even if we play like a diamond or even if we play like a 4-3-3? Because Kamavinga last season, end of the last season.
We're going to be moving into it. We're going to be moving into it, Sid, under season expectations, which is going to be the next thing. But before we get to that, we got to talk about Arda Güler, which, if we don't, it'll be a disservice to him, because the man is super talented. Everybody expects him to really thrive once he's fit to go and whatnot. But his injury had people panicking a bit. Some insinuating that he might need surgery, that he would be out for a good 4-5 months and whatnot. but the earlier signs seems like like he might avoid surgery and might be back in a couple of months, or at the worst case scenario 3 months. But I was super disappointed that he didn't get to play any of preseason, because I was super hyped for the man. I really hope like he has a role to play, because whenever I've seen him play, obviously I haven't seen him live, but of the compilations, he's gonna be someone that is gonna be helping us a lot, or down our right and whatnot. Um, but if anybody has anything to add about Arda Güler, like, now is the time, because we have barely talked about him and he's basically forgotten, which kind of irks me.
I mean, I don't think he's gonna have like a huge impact this season. Maybe he's gonna take some of those reserve minutes that Asensio used to have. He's gonna be fighting along with Brahim, maybe as a backup to Bellingham as well, but I'm not really sure. We have so many midfielders to slot in for where Bellingham plays. So that's the thing. I just don't think that he's gonna have a huge impact. He's just gonna be a learning. He's gonna be getting all of that Madridismo into his blood, injecting it in, and then maybe next season we can like reap the benefits of what he has this season.
There are even like reports in Spanish media that Real Madrid were actually banking on him to have a great preseason, so that he goes out on loan for the first season to get some more minutes and impact, uh, to basically adapt to Spanish football. But he impressed the coaching staff so much that they started including him in the plans for the season. And it's actually sad that he's injured, and like he didn't get any minutes in the preseason. But yeah, like obviously again it's again 18. He's 18, right? Or 17?
Yeah, he's 18.
18. And this one thing I know about the club is that rarely do they bank on, like, expect players from the age of like 18 to 21, 22 to deliver for them week in and week out. Rarely do you see a youngster at Real Madrid. Guler could be the first. I do have a lot of expectations with I've seen so many of his YouTube videos, and he has this flair that makes it Ozil-esque touch and vision. But it's also, you're again like playing for Real Madrid, and the biggest club in the world. So there's a lot of like psychological things he might have to adapt to, and also the fact that he got injured when the season is gonna start. Psychologically, the start is where the coaches plan out who's going to be the starting 11, how are they going to rotate.
It's not ideal, but from what we spoke, from when we spoke to Lara Karajan, the transfer market leader of content for Turkey, like, she was very keen on his mental aspects, like, where she was very keen to point out that he's not your average kid on the block, that he has a certain level of maturity that really stands out way beyond his age. So I hope that really comes to the fore. Like you said, it's not ideal, first couple of months into your tenure with the new club, start of the season, you're missing out, you're completely negated from the first few opening plans for the season and whatnot. But I'm pretty sure he's going to bounce back, and Jacob is going to prove you wrong. He's going to have a substantial role towards the later end of the season. Fingers crossed. That's just what I hope for. Like, I have high expectations of Arda Güler. But to your point, Sid, let's move on to season expectations and how our best starting lineups are going to look like. Then we're going to touch upon Carlo and how we're going to fare in some of the competitions. But let's start with midfield then, since it's the most stacked, talent-wise and potential-wise and whatever. For me, I think it's only right to start with Tchouaméni, who has been sort of a revelation in this preseason, and it seems like he's slowly starting to cement himself back into the side. He infamously did that last season. From the get-go, we were like blown away by how he acclimatized to how we set up and how we play in midfield. But this season, I think it's sort of a rebirth, a second coming for Tchouaméni, and I think he's gonna pass with flying colors, because Kroos and Modric are a year older. it's pretty evident that, especially against City, we needed some sort of a destroyer, someone, to kind of break our play. And even though, like, some of us believe that Kamavinga is much more suited for a lone pivot, um, I think Chouameni can do that role, or he can be molded into someone, akin to Casemiro. He has a different, set of skills compared to Casemiro. He's much more aggressive, can carry the ball better, and whatnot. But I'll come to you first, Sid, man. Chouameni, like, how do you see him fitting in
I
this
think
season?
last year I was very surprised. I remember doing a program on him, and I said that it didn't look like he's replacing a five-time Champions League winner. Like he was
Mm,
just settled in with ease. And post World Cup, I think it was different. Losing a World Cup final uh, can basically impact you a lot, I felt. And after that, there were a lot of injuries, and Carlo wanted to try Tony Cruz in that position. But in the preseason this season, he's looked like amazing. Like, and I genuinely look forward to see him play. Like last season, he didn't score a goal as well. In preseason, he was not afraid to take his shots. He was not afraid to take his chances. I could see this getting more confident, and genuinely look forward to seeing him start, because I think he is the only player we have in that position as a CDM or like a DM. Is more like a number six rather than a number eight. And I think he will be very crucial to Ancelotti's team.
Jacob and Farouk. Jacob, Chouameni, we discussed this so many times on the watch along. Like, do you think that he can be that missing piece in defensive midfield for us this season?
For sure, man. We saw shades of what he excels at. So he's not that kind of player who can actually replace Casemiro and sit just in front of defense. If we have to get the best out of Chouameni in a CDM position, we need to employ a very high pressing scheme where he actually hounds the defenders. He's very good on the press. He can win the ball back high up the pitch and start the attacks. That's where he really excels at. So I feel like Carlo did say
The name of your coach is Carlo Ancelotti. I don't know if you remember that.
Band, you'll be surprised. So Carlo did say we are going to be playing much more higher up the pitch. We're going to have a lot more tempo, pressing up high.
Of course, I'm also gonna go to space as well. But then there I
I can see a lot of people don't like Carlo.
I mean, Farouk likes Carlo, but he just doesn't see an ideal scenario where he can take us forward.
Yeah.
Farouk doesn't believe in that.
Exactly.
Anyways,
But yeah.
I don't think Real Madrid, like the way I feel like club also is like, it's like a 3-year project they have for each and every coach. So I think he has delivered when nobody expected him to. And I think that is the reason why he's still here. The club won all. I'm saying, like, I am a huge like admirer of Carlo Ancelotti as a person, as a personality, but even I have a lot of doubts with him at the helm.
No, man. I feel like he can turn it around from last season. He has a point to prove. So he's gonna come good. But as to my point, like I feel like as a pure destroyer, maybe this guy Kamavinga can actually play that as well. He's not Chouameni is not like the only option for CDM. Even Cruz can play that, but if Cruz has to play, then that means that we need to have like really high pressing,
hard working, yeah.
Players around him, and then even our
Cruz as a 6. I'm gonna fucking switch off the TV. That's it. Done, man.
I feel like it can
Cruz
still
as a
work.
6,
It can still work, man. Like especially
It can still work
doubts.
against sides like Girona.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
not in the Champions League.
No,
No chance.
Did you forget what happened with Girona last season? Like, I don't think it'll work against Girona, but it can work
It's
against
an
other-
example. Yeah, I don't want to jinx it, but Girona is a scary side to play sometimes. But I'm just telling you, it'll work against mediocre sides where the tempo of play is kind of under control.
Definitely.
But against high pressing, high octane, high intensity sides, Cruz is gonna get found out like he was always found out.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
Girona did the same thing. They just had a high tempo. Cruz could not handle it, and at that point, Chouameni wasn't playing as well. We just looked lost, man.
Hassan was saying Chouameni has to start if we want to be competing for everything. 100%, man. It's high time that Chouameni is molded into something that can be useful. Daron says to play Casemiro role, he needs to be more disciplined, meaning sometimes he needs to stick in his position. Mo was very keen during the watch along, if you remember, Jacob, to pinpoint out, where he has some lapses in positioning, where he kind of, anticipates it a bit slower than we expect him to. Um, and CDM is a position that you have to be so finely tuned, so positionally adept to nail it. Because if you're a couple yards out of position, and boom, it's basically you as a screen is completely negated in a matter of seconds. So it's not for everybody to excel at. So Chouameni has to learn it, and he has to learn it the hard way. And he has to be the focus of our. Oh yeah, Sid has to leave as well. And five, bro, like you can leave now. It's absolutely fine.
I was just about to say that the cleaning guys have come in, so they are showing me the hand.
Okay.
They are
Right? Okay. Fair.
So I did that, but
It's all good, bro.
it's
It's
also
all good.
getting dark, so I can't see myself. I don't know if you guys can see me.
Right.
So
We can
since
see
I'm
you,
bit
but
surrounded by trees, so it's like this very less light.
nah, it's all good, bro. It's all good. Hopefully we talk to you soon, yeah. And
Yeah,
tell
yeah.
us about what you're going to be doing tomorrow.
So tomorrow, I will be again here at the Bernabeu talking to a lot of fans about their previews and their expectations from the season. You guys have heard from us till now what we expect, what the good, the bad, and what we look forward to. And I'm going to be asking the fans around here what are the things they look forward to. And I hope a lot of people do say about Vinicius donning the number 7, probably a star name coming in, uh, a lot of things to look forward to when a new season is around. So that will be my, agenda for tomorrow.
That sounds super exciting, man. I'm looking forward to it. And yeah, people. Hopefully, like if I manage to completely edit it out, like it'll be up tomorrow itself. Otherwise, it'll be up the day after. So just remember to show some love to Sid and speak to you in a bit, bro.
Yeah, same. It's great joining you guys.
Have a good
Sorry I have
night.
to leave early, but do
It's all good.
enjoy. Yeah.
Yeah, man, take care.
It's all good, bro. It's all
See you.
good. Take care, man.
See you
In a
guys.
bit.
Hasta el final.
Style fit.
Vamos Real. Right. Yeah. So Sid had already mentioned it to me that like he can't stick around for maybe more than 40 minutes, but he did stick around for an hour. But right, where were we on? So yeah, Chouameni, that is kind of basically a no-brainer. It should be a non-negotiable at this point. Like how he should have a cemented role in the team for us to succeed. But let's talk about guys like Kamavinga, Cruz and Modric, who has been already here. Farouk, like, do you see the older heads being completely phased out this season?
I think it's still always going to be a mixture of those guys and the younger guys, honestly. And I feel like,
Mm.
the whole playing as a single lone pivot of Tchouaméni, actually, I think that's going to be something. I think it's going to be, at least for me, I feel like it's going to be very difficult, for him to be that, because honestly, like, being a destroyer and a builder at the same time is so difficult. This is the reason why, like, Arsenal are paying 100 million plus for Declan Rice. This is the reason why, like, even Casemiro went to United at 30 for around 80 or whatever it is that he went. So it's really difficult to find those kind of players. Obviously, you can mold Tchouaméni into that because he's such an intelligent player. But the thing is that you can also find a team, as which I think that's what Jacob is trying to say there, is that it's no longer about one player as a DM who is going to be the seat as a lone seater. No, it's going to be more about the midfield as a whole putting in the shift. I don't know if that makes any sense. So because of this, I feel like it's going to be Cruz or Modric and the young guys, like Kamavinga, and I think eventually it's going to be the 100 million guy Jude Bellingham ahead of Fede already. I don't know how that's going to work, but this is what it looks like for now. So I think it's going to be those guys. I think it's going to be Kamavinga, It's going to be Tchouaméni, it's going to be Bellingham, and then I think it's going to be either one of Kroos or Modric, and I'm not sure which it's going to be, honestly. But again, it's Ancelotti, and honestly, until the season starts and we actually see what his plans are, I wouldn't be surprised if, he still plays with, Modric and Kroos and mix them with two of the youngsters as well.
Jacob, anything to add to that?
No, man, I feel like Farooq said everything. And I feel like we're going to see something different this season because that's the task that Carlo has been tasked with. He has to make this midfield work with a young core because next season, I don't think we're going to have both Kroos and Modric here. So he definitely has to change up the play, maybe switch up to a high pressing scheme. And I'm just super excited to see how that works out.
It's got to be something that we have to analyze on a game to game basis because it's one thing. It's one thing that we have a plethora of talent to choose from and kind of mix and match. But it's one thing to actually have a set midfield to earn some consistency. So it's got to be a fine balancing act. I'm telling you, from the get go because a midfield is where the games are won. Let's be honest. Like unless we have the right mix going for us, it's going to be difficult for us to control games. And last season we saw, even during the Champions League winning run, like how we couldn't control games. Basically, we had to survive large phases of onslaught. Like I personally, like I'll be content with it watching fucking Brighton. Not even Brighton. Brighton doesn't do that. Brighton completely controls every fucking meter of the pitch. But if I was a fan of like a team like Osasuna or a team like Elche, like I would be fine. But when supporting the biggest club in the world, it's hard to stomach. Hard to digest the fact that we have to be second best for large parts of the game. But I hope Carlo really, like what Farooq said. I think that's the way forward. Starting both Luka and Tony together is going to be something that's going to bite him in the backside, sooner rather than later. And we have seen that on quite a few occasions where they really can't keep up with the play. But maybe starting one of them and switching one for the other, in the second half is gonna completely, add some freshness to the thing. And like if Tony Cruz comes off, we can basically add Luka and completely freshen the way we operate. Like Tony, when he's on the pitch, he's basically controlling passing lanes and whatnot. Modric can be a much better ball carrier in the second half against tired legs. So we have to wait and see. And Bellingham is a trump card that can basically do everything. So I hope the synergy is facilitated to build up over the season, because if it is changed up way too much, like they'll have a hard time trying to have a mental picture, trying to anticipate how a play is gonna take form. But right, moving on to the defense before we touch up on the attack. Our best CB pairing, the pairing that won us the Champions League and the La Liga double, like, do you think they are the key behind another successful season? Is Militao and Alaba gonna be vital, Farooq, again?
I mean, at least what Rudiger has shown us so far, that's the thing. It doesn't leave a room for question, because I feel like, at least in my opinion, Rudiger wasn't up to par last season. Because of that, like, he hasn't given Carlo the headache of having to dismantle the Militao Alaba partnership. As long as they're fit, this is the key thing. Like last season, there was a lot of fitness issues with the World Cup in the middle of the season and all that. So, well, I think like that's just, at least that's the starting point. Like, how does the season end? Who are going to be the partners? I don't know, but I think, at least starting the season, I think it's Alaba and Militao should be the starting partnership.
Militao during preseason, I wasn't very keen. For me, I thought Alaba Rudiger was a much better CB pairing at times. Like it kind of threw me off guard. Jacob, if you remember.
Exactly, man. I feel like in the preseason, especially, that pairing was the most solid. We were very comfortable just cycling out possession. We didn't lose the ball too much. Those guys had excellent synergy, like you said, and they covered their pace as well. When Militao came on, like especially with Nacho or Alaba, even if it's Alaba, I feel like he left a lot of space uncovered, players unmarked. So the good thing is Militao has now broken up with his girlfriend. So I feel like he's gonna take a step up and then have a successful
I
season.
can't believe our fans are celebrating that. Like it's mad. It's mad. This is what 2023 looks like, but it is what it is.
It is, man. And I feel like Rudiger is going to have a more prominent role this season. I feel like he has kind of had the time to gel in a bit more, and maybe just a brand new season is just what he needs to get back up and running and rediscover his form.
Farouk was a little too harsh on Rudiger, bro. We were all on the same page regarding Rudiger, remember? But the City first leg, you remember how much of a colossus he was. Like he kept Haaland completely quiet, and basically was one of the best performances on the pitch. So you never know, man. Like Rudiger, yes, he has the Bozo gene, like we discussed last year. Like you never know when he's gonna, completely, do something idiotic. But when he is composed and on his game, like he's very imperious. But yeah, I think the jury is still out. You gotta gauge how the season is gonna pan out for him. But the fullback situation, we touched about Mendy, right? Carvajal. Um, we know he's the ultimate big game fullback of the modern era. Like how he has carried himself through multiple coaches, multiple dynasties, speaks for itself. Nobody questions his commitment to the cause. Like how much he puts the team above him. But during games where the opposition has wingers that can expose him for pace, Dani Carvajal is a serious problem. It's a serious issue that really doesn't have a realistic solution for us. The club doesn't seem to be really worried about handling Dani Carvajal's minutes. Uh, which brings me to you, Farouk. Like, do you think the situation is going to improve for him, or do you think we're going to still suffer from off days that Dani is going to obviously have throughout the course of the season?
I think that the key word you used there was, managing the minutes. I think like load management would have done a miracle, for Danny Carvalho, because I always still just go back to the game against Luis Diaz, because I personally felt like, I complained throughout the season, and in the game that I was scared the most, he came out and literally shot the most in from winger. Like the man was nowhere, man. So it tells me
I
that,
still
like,
remember, man.
It tells me
was
that
so
like there
satisfying.
is still something there, you understand. But the point is like we asking him to do it because, as we know, like he's a player that has lost, a yard or two, like due to the health issues. He had muscles issue, he had the whole heart.
Also, he's
thing, all
aging.
those things.
He's aging. He's not 25 anymore.
Exactly. And then, when you also get, to 30 and all that shit, like, whether you like it or not, like, that you lose a bit of that explosiveness. So the thing is that, as you said, he's a big game player, you understand? Well, last season, unfortunately, Grealish ran him rags, man. Grealish took him to the rags, you understand? So the point is, if he had that break or, someone who is pushing him competitively, I believe that we would have gotten, we could have gotten a very, I wouldn't say rejuvenated, but at least, a better well-rested Carvalho to at least give us, one season more or maybe 2 seasons more. The point is he's competing against Lucas Vasquez and he knows that whatever happens, he's just going to be the one there. And unfortunately, I don't think at this age, like Carvalho can still do it week in, week out. Obviously, there's still always going to be the odd performance here and there. But like for consistency across the long run, I just don't see, Carvalho, faring any better than last season.
Regarding Lucas Vasquez, like me, Jacob, and Mo, when we were doing the watch-alongs, we had an interesting insight into how Lucas Vasquez kind of maybe can reignite his Real Madrid career. Obviously, this is going to be his final season. He's out of contract in June 2024, if I'm not mistaken. So in a diamond, we feel like he might have more on his plate to contribute than Danny. Jacob, if you can enlighten us on that, like during preseason, we saw how his delivery was basically the catalyst for the diamond to have any chance of working.
Exactly, man. And the thing is with Carvajal, even if he is gonna be performing at the highest level in these sort of clutch games, we can't expect him to do the same in attack as well. He's gonna sit back. He's gonna protect the defense for sure. But if we're going for the average game in La Liga, definitely I feel like Lucas Vazquez last season he was not a factor at all throughout the season. I feel like this season, if we do end up playing the diamond, he's gonna have an important role. He's way better at attack right now than Carvajal. He puts in quality deliveries. We saw that immediately as soon as he comes on, the team looked immediately better. If we do play a 4-3-3, then I'm not sure if Lucas Vazquez will have the same impact. We're still going to be giving 99% of the minutes to Carvajal. So yeah, it depends on the style of play we employ.
Setup, yeah. Right.
Question though, like deliveries to who?
So
when Joselu was there, he delivered the cross for the bicycle kick, right? For the volley.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
He did, and even with Bellingham, I feel like he did get Bellingham on the head. Bellingham got a couple of headers from Lucas Vazquez or something like that, something close to it. But he won a penalty as well. That was a Lucas Vazquez.
Bellingham is an okay target. Like he tries to get at the end of things. He's not exactly a prolific header of the ball, but he's tall, he's physical, he's deceptively quick as well. So he can get on at the end of things. But yeah, we have to see. But Farouk, anything to add? Lucas Vazquez, final season, he might have something up his sleeve, this year.
I don't know, man. I don't know. You guys are so much, romantics. Like, oh, Carlos should go out with a bang. It's Lucas Vazquez's final season. He has to do this. He has to do that. I mean, the point is, if at this point anyone doesn't beat Lucas Vazquez, even if he wins the Champions League, no one's gonna rate him. So there is no point in that. Like, we know who he is. We accept him for who he is, and we respect him for what he has done. For me, it's more than fine. There is no need for a big swang song or whatever it is. Like, just come in, do your shift, and go back home. Finish, done and dusted.
Yeah, Francesco might be watching. Francesco, I hope you don't snitch us out to Lucas Vazquez. We only have love for him. But yeah, Farouk here, like we have no association with him, right? But Hassan in the chat says Alaba Rudiger for now. Militao has to earn his place back, especially now since he's single again. Right? Everybody is so caught up with his personal life, man. It's mad. Yado is in the chat. Big up Yado. He says, pretty sure Ancelotti said centre backs for now are Alaba and Militao, especially looking at pre-season. I hope they work. There is a reason why he put so much faith in them, because that is aesthetically, how they complement each other. Centre back pairings are all about synergy. Like let's say you put Ramos and Rio Ferdinand, who are two of the best. Like they won't necessarily work together unless they can complement each other. So Carlo knows that better than everyone else, and he kind of, I'm pretty sure is still seething from what happened to Alaba last year. Because when Alaba was there, Alaba and Militao started for most games. We looked kind of okay. Hassan says Carvajal and Vazquez, dumb and dumber. Then we have a literal real life NPC in Odriozola. That's harsh, man. We have the worst right back depth in Europe. Telling you, man, modern football is all about exceptionally well-oiled fullbacks. Fullbacks dictate half of the plays, man. It's kind of sad, like how we have fallen off the cliff in regards to that. But Fresneda was there in the market. We could have gotten him, but the club wasn't keen. We have Vinny Tobias still on another season loan. We extended him for Castilla. He scored a goal. I think he scored a pen yesterday against someone for the Castilla preseason friendlies and whatnot. But it's kind of a very dire situation, man. I don't know what to say, honestly. If the club doesn't see a viable option to pursue, what can we do? Just hope for the best. Nacho sometimes at right back as well.
It's
like
kind
Ashik
of
was
hard.
saying.
What I feel like the club, what's holding the club back from actually signing one of these good right backs is that the Carvajal and Vazquez, they're very good servants of the club. They're very loyal, and I feel like that's always a consideration when we go out and make new signings.
But I've always felt like our club is the least sentimental of all the top clubs out there. So I don't think it's just our sentimentality. I don't think so, bro, Jacob. Maybe it's a Spanish thing. I don't know. But big up everyone of you in the chat, man. Let's go on to the final attack, final segment of how we're gonna set up attack. So how is it gonna be if it's a diamond, right? If it's a diamond, Farouk, like, do you see Rodrigo and Vinicius being a consistently stable option that can win us games? Or do you think for them to work, a 4-3-3 has to be the way to go?
I mean, the point is considering what we've seen in the preseason, and we tend to know that, like especially in the last games, what the coach does is what he's going to start with in the season as well. It's a 4-4-2, so like the 4-3-3 might not, like let's not be surprised when we don't see the 4-3-3. So, and it's not about consistent or what is not consistent. The point is that's the only option you have. Who else are you going to play? It's just Vini and Rodrigo. These are the only two players that you have, unfortunately. So there is nothing else. So it's going to be, I think it's going to be a 4-4-2 with the diamond, and it's going to be Vini and Rodrigo up front. I mean, what I think is something else. Will it work? Is something else, you understand? So this is the whole thing. But personally, when you ask me like this, I I was reading something the other day, and I just remembered very well. I think Sunil will remember this as well. We criticized City 3 seasons ago or 2 seasons ago, whenever it was. We said the reason they haven't won shit was because they have no number 9. This was the 100-point City, the Centurion cities, you understand? And then now we come and be like, yeah, Vinicius and Rodrigo can get shit done. I mean, I wouldn't say anything more than that. Let me just leave that there, and we can interpret it how we want to interpret it.
It's a very good point. We used to trash City with the same thing that we are kind of turning a blind eye towards at this point. Haaland had a very bad game today. Like, he was pulled off at the minute 60. He was basically non-existent. But having someone that can instill fear in back lines can create so much space, man. So much space. Like, he didn't score a single goal against us. But I'll go as much as to say that he was the reason they had the space they had to have those killer finishes.
Man, I want to ask what you guys think about.
Go on, Jacob.
Like, in case we play a 4-3-3, like that is an option. Just play Bellingham at number 9. What do you guys think about that?
I think it can work.
I think Bellingham at number 9 might be a false option. I think Bellingham in the middle of the park would be better. I think playing Fede Valverde as a false winger would make more sense. Playing Bellingham in the middle of the park, I think gives, as a number 8, gives the team the best dynamism, in my opinion. I think playing Rodrigo as a 9 or as a false 9 or whatever it will be that will be, I think that might be much more better, because the reason is because like Bellingham as a number 9 might be misused. Like, we might lose a bit of dynamism, because when you play Bellingham as a 9, then you have to play Camavinga and Modric and Kroos. Camavinga, Tchouaméni, and Kroos. I don't know, but at least for me, like, I haven't seen the preseason, so like I am not too sold on Tchouaméni starting. If you're gonna play 4-3-3, I would choose the option of playing Camavinga, Kroos, and Modric. Camavinga, Kroos, and Modric, and then you play you play Bellingham as a number 9. I just don't see that, but rather I'll play Camavinga, Kroos, or Modric, and Bellingham by playing Fede Valverde as a false winger. I think the team has a bit more solidity and dynamism in the team that way. I don't know. This is just what I think. I think rather than playing Bellingham as a 9, I'd rather play Fede as a winger, and as an 8, leave Bellingham there.
Look at the dire straits we are in, man. Honestly, like we are speaking like we are fucking Atleti, bro. Like, it's hard for me to sit through this whole conversation. But yeah, Bellingham down the middle for me has potential, especially due to his size, his link up play, how he can also have an eye for the goal as well. Jude Bellingham as a goal scorer, people are sleeping on it. Like, hopefully, like, people will kind of get to realize that he has the scoring touch required.
As a goal scorer is fine, but not as a 9. This is the issue, actually.
Man, for me, it's like it's not about like him performing well in the number 9 position. It's about getting the best out of Rodrigo and Vinicius at the same time. So them on the wings is the best solution for us. them centrally is not working
Mm.
out for us.
Honestly, like, I didn't want to talk about the elephant in the room, but let me just throw this to you guys. You put Kylian Mbappe as a number 9 with Vinicius and Rodrigo. Do you think it's going to bring out the best of the both of them? One of them for sure has to be a sleeper in this formation. For
Yeah,
this formation to
for
work, one
sure.
of them has to be a sleeper. So it's not gonna. So the point of having the best in all of them does not even exist right now. The point is just, wake up, sleep, wake up. Because I don't know, but you guys should hear it first. If we go into the season like this, it's sad we spent 100 million plus and we are still no worse than we were last year.
Mm.
I don't know if you guys genuinely think this is a better team. I don't know, but I personally think this is a worse team. We are no
Definitely
better than,
not.
because the point is
That's
Kroos
true.
is older, Modric is older, Carvalho is older.
We lost Benzema.
So that's the thing, like, we spend so much money. That's why, like, there is little excitement, because I just imagine myself, like, if I go back to the game against City with this team, what changes? Absolutely nothing. And it even gets worse. If Bayern can pull this shit off with Harry Kane, like, we are done.
Yeah, we're done. But encouraging shit. Like Ashik was saying, why is Mbappe looking for a property in Madrid? Like when I checked, just went through Madrid Extra, some shit broke. While we were live, that Mbappe is basically out of PSG's plans for August. Like he's going to be still training with the undesirables and whatnot. He won't be starting. He won't be even having a place on the bench, as per reports from Le Parisien and whatnot. So it looks like something might happen in the next 2 weeks. And Abdallah Bolma, the guy who has been breaking all these news, he sent me a DM on our page Instagram in the morning, stating that basically implying the what's the emoji for the time sand thing. Like he basically sent me that. So I basically asked him, like, would you have something interesting for us in the next 2 weeks, to which he just liked the message. So I think there's something brewing. I think something is going to happen in the next 2 weeks. The signs are looking great, but yeah, man, without Mbappe, our whole attack just looks off. It doesn't have any sort of a cohesive plan for it to for it to work. Yeah, it can maybe scrape past mediocre opposition here and there. Even Joselu can do a job against elite opposition. Like imagine we have Mbappe, right? Imagine we have Mbappe, Rodrigo, and Vinicius starting in a 4-3-3, and say let's say Rodrigo's having a bad game, isn't really getting into the thick of things. Like he can be pulled off. Mbappe can go to the right or the left, or they can basically swap, mix and match, right? Be fluid, basically interchange, and play Joselu down the middle. It is an option that's gonna bang 100%. Mbappe and Vinicius putting in the delivery for Joselu can really get us the goals. Like I don't know, Farouk is getting uncomfortable thinking about it, but you don't see it working, yeah?
So the thing tonight is this, actually. From last season till now, Real Madrid actually killed me a bit in the sense that I just feel like we are building something that is feasible on paper, but I don't know if someone who is playing PlayStation is the guy who is in charge of stuff. Like I feel like we're building a FIFA team, but not a team that will actually go outside and compete. I don't want to be the person with this and that, but I still feel like even
FIFA team, you said. So why do you say that?
I feel like even with Kylian and Mbappe, like we will be a very nice team to play, but the thing is that when it matters the most, we will be able to deliver. I really doubt that.
Bro, come on. I don't understand. I don't understand all this negativity. So you're saying
this is what I believe, actually. Because
so you're saying that if Mbappe plays down the middle, if Mbappe becomes part of our front three, he's not going to contribute. That's just idiotic for you to think that.
No, man, he's going to contribute. I'm not saying he's not going to contribute. Now we're going to be a front.
I don't understand it.
We're going to score tons of goals, but when it matters the most, we wouldn't be able to deliver. This is
my God.
Because I think
just
like
harsh, very harsh.
Man, with Vinny and Mbappe, like they're world beaters for any team. Just having them to any.
I'm not denying that. I totally agree with that, but I just feel like the performances I've seen that best happens with Kylian Mbappe actually happens with certain profile of players, and even for Vinicius Junior, he has played best with Karim Benzema. I mean, I don't know. I just feel like even in Brazil, like they've played, with a striker like with Richarlison, all through, and even there was a reason why, they were so also interested in playing with Bobby Firmino, even ahead of Gabriel Jesus as well. You understand? So, I mean, these are just they are players of certain profiles that actually make these guys perform the best. Away from that,
Mbappe can link up play much better than people give him credit for. I'll tell you that.
Do you think Mbappe is coming to Real Madrid to link up play?
Bro, I'm telling you, if those
He's coming to
three
be
guys,
the guy who is being linked up with.
Those three guys have to help each other. They have to be selfless for this to work. And if
actually,
they
so
are,
this is the thing I say to you, like, these are all things that are happening on paper. We don't know until we see them. Maybe they come, they do it, and they surprise me. You understand? But what I'm saying to you is that I'm gonna see like very interesting football that you're gonna enjoy. But eventually, when it comes to me, I think like we're gonna fall short. Because the reason why I'm saying this is that away from that, I go to the fullback positions. I'm not confident going into a game with Mendy and Carvajal. I mean, I don't even know if Mendy is going to be fit for the game. So these are things that, that's why I say to you, like, we're building a team that's meant for FIFA. Like, Carvajal is going to be rated 80, Mendy is going to be rated 80. I have Mbappe with 90 or 91. I have Vini with 90, and I have, this guy with 89, Jude jumping in as well with his 80 plus and what is not. And eventually we have all of this, but then, when push comes to shove, like, that's the thing, like,
Farooq,
when
you're
push
like
comes
basically,
to shove, like,
so just to summarize, you're saying, even though we have the highest rated players at every position, like they don't work together in real life.
Exactly. As you guys said,
man is speaking like I don't get this, because Farooq is implying that we are the Galacticos, the first Galactico era where there was just superstars with absolutely no plan for them to work. I don't think that's the case, man. Farooq, wake up. I don't think so, bro.
I don't know, man. I mean, that's why I said let's see, man. Honestly, like, but for me right now,
I don't know how you see that kind of picture.
Am I confident with all this? And I'm like, nah.
All these young players, who are super versatile, super hungry for success. How can there not be a realistic, feasible plan for them to work?
How many players has versatility helped? How many players are actually genuine jack of all trades that, like, they're considered like Ballon d'Or level players?
Maybe
I wouldn't say everyone is considered that. Like, we have mentioned on so many occasions on this very podcast that sometimes versatile players get undermined because they can't really excel in a certain position. But guys like Tchouaméni, Camavinga, Bellingham, do you think that their versatility is because they are average? I don't think so.
What I see is that I don't think what you call as I think what you call as versatility is what I would call a modern day player, because the point is that as a modern day player, you're not being expected to be a specialist DM who only breaks up. No, you're expected to break up the defense and also link up the play. You're expected to be the first start, just as a goalkeeper isn't expected to stop a shot only anymore. Okay, he's a versatile goalkeeper, but he's not actually versatile. He's just a modern day goalkeeper. I think this is something. I mean, okay, when you say versatile, I mean, I was thinking you were saying someone who will play different positions, but I think maybe what you meant by versatile is just someone who is a modern day player, because these days, like, you're expecting someone not just to be a Toni Kroos, you're expecting also to have athleticism as well included.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe that's
bro, I'm telling you, these players can fit in a flat 4-3-3 and work. They have shown us that even last year, without Bellingham, without Tchouaméni having a cemented spot, they kind of did something. Like, even with the struggling Benzema, with Rodrigo, having.
You said it yourself. With a struggling Benzema, at least he's there. It doesn't matter, even if it's Benzema's statue that was there, or even if it was his grave that was there. He was there. You understand? He was there. And I have said this before on the podcast.
Mbappe is a young, faster
we will reach a
version of Benzema.
We will reach a point where a decision has to be made. Because the point is, at least this is what I believe, Mbappe, Vinicius, and Rodrigo, I think, is something that works in FIFA. I believe that we will reach a point where these difficult discussions have to be had about someone. I don't know what that will be, but at least right now, all points it's pointing towards Rodrigo. This is just what I believe. A difficult discussion has to be had about someone, because I genuinely believe that these three, in my opinion, wouldn't work. But then it's just me. What do I know? I don't know Jackson.
Right, Ashik says, Farooq, you look stressed. Malaysia Sadiq, as Bobby M once said, don't worry, be happy. It's Bonnie M, right? It's not Bobby M. But Hassan
Bob
says,
Marley, Bob Marley,
oh,
Bob Marley.
Bob Marley, right.
Don't worry, be happy.
Hassan says, one question is, how do we fix our defensive structure? We'll have to score like 100 goals in the league alone to compensate for it. A defensive structure can only be fixed by Carlo. And Carlo is the least bothered guy in the room regarding our defensive structure because, especially with the diamond, boy oh boy, we looked clueless. We looked like we didn't care. But it's preseason, we have to take that with a pinch of salt. Nobody wants to injure anybody. Nobody wants to put in that last ditch tackle and whatnot. So it's going to be much more pedestrian rather than an actual game. But I get your concern. A defensive structure, the only way to fix it is to define roles like the ones we were discussing, a Chouameni. We need a guy like Chouameni. We need a guy like Casemiro. That's, I think, from a very layman perspective. Let's see, I've mentioned so many times, I'm not a tactical. Just from the outside looking in, just from the eye test, I would like someone to sit and break up play. It's as simple as that. Be it Kamavinga, be it Chouameni, or buy someone, be it Mario Martin from Castilla. I need someone to sit in and break up possessions so that the guys, further up can play with the confidence that, oh yeah, there is someone there to mop up for us, sweep shit for us. So I think it's something that's gonna help us out a great lot, like especially in the Champions League against City, we saw that very evidently. But yeah, any other suggestions like how you think that we can, uh, better the defensive structure? Jacob and Farouk, do you have any input?
I feel like we're at the lowest point in our defensive structure, right? We are conceding goals like crazy against like shitty ass teams, and the only way is up. And I feel like once the season hits, we're gonna have a very healthy Kamavinga. We're gonna have a very healthy Valverde. They're gonna mop up and help out defensively for Carvajal and Frank Garcia. So I feel like that automatically takes care of a lot of burden from the wings. It just centrally it's up to Chouameni to improve a lot more and cover a bit more and help out Militao and Alaba.
That's a very good point. Farouk, anything to add?
Yeah, actually, I think actually, that's the thing, Jacob. Like, all what you talk about comes on the development of a system. I keep going back to the point I've been making since 18 months ago. We don't have a system, and when you don't have a system, there is no structure. When there is no structure, like as Sunay said earlier, like everything is done in the midfield. Once we win and you lose in the midfield, you understand. When our players are all over the place, like let's not forget the game against Girona, we conceded 4 goals. So it's not like it's an anomaly or something like that. So it's quite difficult, honestly, to see. But then actually, you guys watch the preseason, so you guys know better. But I was actually thinking, with Ford in the middle of the park, at least it gives you more body, it gives you more control of the center of the park, and hence at least the chance of having breakaways and having being overloaded in the defensive areas reduces as well. So, but then you guys are saying it's not the case. Like you're saying, the team looks clueless even with the diamond, but I was expecting it to be the reverse. But then I don't know. I said, like, it's still just new teams, new players, departure of Benzema and what is. So I mean, not even August, not even September. Like we would have to wait to the likes of November before we can actually see what this team is actually looking like playing. Now, obviously, fitness allowing us also. Then we can see, because the thing is that one thing we know with Carlo is that he's a very stubborn man as well. He might start with the 4-4-2, 4-4-2, and then after a while just decide, nah, fuck the shit, I'm gonna go back to Modric and Kroos and whoever it is. You understand? So we have to just wait till around November to actually see what this team is gonna look like for the season. Actually, so for now we're just speculating and just it's a bit of excitement and fear at the same time mixed together. So we have to wait and see how it pans out.
Right. Time to move on to expectations regarding competitions. Right. Who should I start with first? Jacob. Realistically, La Liga, Copa del Rey, and the Champions League, how many do we win
Man,
right now?
Right now, with the team that we have,
Yeah.
forget La Liga, man. Like I feel like we can have a better season in terms of the Champions League than La Liga. Maybe the Copa del Rey. We're gonna. I can't believe I'm like even considering that as a competition, but yeah, I feel like realistically, it's just Copa del Rey that we are direct shoe-in for. Maybe like semi-final or final, if we get a lucky break with a lucky draw, we can get through. But if we face City again in the semis, I don't know, man. No.
So realistically, the only competition you look at is the Copa del Rey. Fucking hell. So add Mbappe to the equation. How does it change?
For me, I'm still gonna like not give La Liga consideration. The Champions League, I feel like we're gonna go to the final if Mbappe comes.
Fair. Farouk.
So it means nothing changes then even with or without Mbappe. Is that what you're saying, Jacob?
Yeah, this season I don't think like things change. It's just too early, man. This team needs to gel a bit more, and maybe next season we can see how it turns out.
Actually, I have a more. I think La Liga, I think, is there for the taking because I still just don't think Barca are a better team than we are. Even I feel last year, like they were there, but like obviously their defense was something out of the. I mean, unless they can replicate that miraculous defense, which I don't think is possible because I think it was, as I said, a miracle. So I think like we will be there in the league. However, the Champions League is where I actually. Yeah, sorry, go on.
In preseason, Barcelona, like the defense was like as good as last season. They were looking very solid.
Okay, if they can replicate last season, then I have no qualms because like if someone can go a season conceding was in 18 goals or how many goals, I don't know, 20 goals, whatever it is. If they can do that, I mean they have my respect. But I do think that we can win La Liga. At least we can compete, unlike last season. I do that this season we can compete because I believe Barca cannot replicate that defensive structure that they had. Copa, I mean, we never really bother about Copa. It's just if we wake up and find ourselves in the quarters and semis, then we decide to start playing. But until then, I really wouldn't put that. But the Champions League is actually where I would worry that I will say that I feel like Mbappe or no Mbappe, I just don't see us getting past the quarters semis max. I don't think we can get past it because the point is, I mean, right now, who are we going to face? If Bayern gets Harry Kane, like, I don't know if you guys remember last season, even Bayern would have knocked out City if they had a striker because they had that much chances. Although City won 3-0 in the first leg. In the first 20 minutes of the second leg, I can remember 3 chances that a person who has a 9 behind his jersey would have converted. And the game would have been
Sane, yeah, so many guys flopped their
Sane,
chances.
Coman also had a fantastic chance. I think Sane had 2, Coman had 1. So like that's the thing. Like Bayern is a really, really good team, honestly. Really good team, honestly. I do believe that. So, and I think like our team right now, I just don't see us, going past in the Champions League max semi-final. But I'm more of the quarterfinals kind of like I think more optimistic in my opinion is the quarterfinals, but we might get through to the semis. But I think we can, compete in La Liga. I think La Liga is there for us to take, honestly, because Barca can't just repeat that miraculous defense.
I'll echo your thoughts a bit, not completely, because I still believe without Mbappe we can really give Barcelona the run for the money in La Liga. I think we should be looking at La Liga as the number one priority this season, especially if we don't add Mbappe, because the squad we have, yes, it has some depth of talent that can push us far, but like you guys anticipate, against City or against, like, I think we'll have a good outing against Bayern. I think we can do a job, but against City without Mbappe, nah. I don't think we'll stand a chance. But in La Liga, I think we can really push Barca off their perch.
I don't understand. Like we just as a team, like especially this team recently, we don't have the same concentration that we have for the UCL. Like, how can you expect us to like get those wins against Girona, get those wins against Elche or Osasuna?
It comes down to, bro. Let's put it this way. In Carlos' second stint in his first year, the way we won La Liga was purely down to persistence and desire, and like you said, concentration, which has to come back. Obviously, this year, I mean the year gone by, the reason why we fell way short was, let's be honest, because of the World Cup in the middle and the way we started off, which kind of made us too comfortable in a sense, and we didn't take Barcelona seriously enough, especially after that first Clásico win, in which we won like 3-1 or something. But this year, we'll be much more wary about Barcelona, what Barcelona can do, and we'll be much more alert and aware about our chances. I think there's going to be a renewed hunger for success. Even guys like Tony Cruz was mentioning, like, I would really like to win the La Liga this season. So I don't know. Something tells me that there's going to be a changing in mentality, because um, what's the clicking noise? What's it coming from? Whose mic is it?
Mine, maybe. I can maybe.
Right. But what was I saying? So players last season, like, they would have completely, acknowledged that you can't really switch it on and off. Like, we were kind of hyping that whole process up, remember? Like, yeah, we can sleep in La Liga, but when it comes to the Champions League, the anthem is gonna fucking give us bonus, and we're gonna, perform to our maximum. But next year, the players are going to be very self-aware that only if they can carry the momentum from the domestic league onto a midweek Champions League game, they can have a good rhythm, good momentum to, really do any sort of damage, in the latter part of the season. So I really think it's going to be a collective effort, and which is going to at least fetch us the La Liga without Mbappe. With Mbappe, I think we win the double.
The double?
Easy. You'll see. With Mbappe,
What
I'm telling you,
La Liga and Copa or La Liga and UCL?
La Liga UCL.
Okay.
Easy. Farouk will be here. I'll wipe off your tears. Emotionally. Finally, Farouk will be hoping that Carlo might stay one more year. You'll be
Never.
begging for him to stay.
Never. I have said it before.
I
have said it before. I would rather lose a very tightly contested match than win 1-0 in a garbage way. Definitely not. I pay for entertainment. I am not here. Like, okay, maybe I'm not a kind of fan like you guys are, in the sense that, like, I am emotionally invested in this. The reason why I do this for myself is to have entertainment. I am to be entertained. This is just the whole point. I wouldn't come here and say, okay, yeah, let me go, and I'm not born, I'm not born in Madrid, so I don't have that emotional attachment or shit like that. But, like, I would rather, play a 5-war game, and everyone plays, to the last sweat of their blood or blood of their sweat or whatever it is, than sit down and play haram football like Allegri does and win 1-0 and win the Scudetto and be like, yeah, I'm a champion. Fuck that, man. We ain't doing that, no.
You're basically saying that you don't feel for the club, which is a shame, which basically says that you shouldn't be here.
I'm not saying I don't feel for the club. Obviously, I feel for the club. But what I'm saying to you is that,
Farouk, I don't get you. Honestly, I don't get you. But
I mean,
it is what it is.
You're trying to be a journalist right now. You're trying to put words.
You do you. You do you. You just said that you wouldn't want to win a title, playing haram football, bro. For me, if we play haram football or haramless football, I would, at the end of the day, want my club to win. Simple as. There's no ifs and buts.
For me, like,
there's no ifs and buts.
Personally, I like a bit of shithousery as well.
I mean, obviously, shithousery is fine as well. But the thing is, do you have shithousery with us right now? We don't even have that. Shithousery is what Atletico did in 2014. Do we have that? We don't have that.
We don't have
Until Ancelotti came for the second stint, tell me when we played shitty football. At least when I started watching Real Madrid, it was, what's he called? The coach of Real Betis, what was his name? I forgot. Pellegrini. Pellegrini had the most points for a loser before Barcelona equalized that. Fucking fantastic free flow football, free kicks flying in left and right. It was Mourinho, perfect counter attack.
Bro, Zidane's second stint was horrible to watch.
That's why I told you, like, until the seasons before. And Zidane's second stint was understandable because Cristiano had left. The team wasn't shit. He had to rebuild stuff. Marcelo was a shadow of himself. How can you adapt to that? You can only adapt to that by sitting back and doing this. What we are seeing right now is not something I have seen. Okay, obviously, maybe older Real Madrid fans have seen it. But at least since I started watching Real Madrid, this is the first time I find myself in this situation of sitting down, throwing the ball, Benzema bring it down, Vinicius goes. It's, hero football. Obviously, we've always played hero football, but there's always been, something. There's always been a substance. There's always been like, oh shit, man, that's it. That's the way it's done. But I haven't seen this for the last 18 months. Yeah, we want the UCL and all that, but eventually you want the fun, I mean, I fucking watched the Women's World Cup, and man, I mean, Carlos should open the TV and watch as well and see what these people are doing. Innovativeness.
Anyway, right. This conversation, whenever this gets brought up, it never leads anywhere productive. But Farouk has very strong emotions, very strong opinions regarding how we should set up and how we should play. I completely respect it because we don't support our club just to watch some drab football. Like we could support Birmingham City instead, but we support this club to see accelerating, enthralling shit. But I get you, man. I get you. But I'm pretty sure, bro, if Carlo is about to leave and that's gonna be his last club season of his very illustrious career, he's gonna do something insane. I'm telling you, he's gonna do something insane. But right. Yeah, you can mock that all you want. But I'm just hoping for the best, like I'm just hoping that
This
they
is the
should
thing.
be.
I will repeat what I am repeating always. Carlo can win a treble. He's a man for this because he's a perfect man manager. He's someone who can get people to do shit that needs to be done. He can win that. He can win the treble. It's like, I mean, him going out
But
and
it's,
banging
bro,
by
if
winning
it's
the
his,
treble, it's not something that he hasn't done before. He's won trophies. He can win trophies.
right, I don't know how he can please you anymore unless I don't wanna say
Go
that
to
on the pod,
Brazil and win the World Cup. We're gonna support the Seleção at the World Cup if he goes to Brazil.
but Hassan says we're gonna have a better summer than Barca and still won't win La Liga because we have Ancelotti. Right, yeah, so many people have the same sentiment. Ashik says we are winning La Liga, we'll go far in the Champions League and Copa del Rey, we'll do that. We'll do what we do normally, lose to some unknown team, but if we get Mbappe, then they should stop the season. We are winning it all. Danielson says, realistically, I think we will win the Champions League, La Liga, and the Copa del Rey just to give Don Carlo a bet befitting send off. First ever trouble, yeah? Ashik says, Sane went a bit insane in that game. Right. Tasaliba says, has anyone seen or have information about Nico Paz and his potential future in Madrid? I think he's going to stick with Castilla. He has been recently promoted, I think, last year. So still a long way to go for Nico Paz. There is a reason there is so much buzz around him. The club has absolute faith in him. He is touted to be a very huge talent. So I think he has some sort of a role to play next year with the first team. I don't know in what capacity, but fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Right. Ashik says, I do agree with Farouk, though, being a club of this stature and throughout the history, they have played entertaining football. So the expectation is to play more positive football, 100%. I don't disagree with that, but I wouldn't put that above winning trophies, but that's just me. Hassan says, I can't wait to see Nagelsmann ball at the Bernabeu next season. Nagelsmann is overrated, man. I'm telling you. Moving on to the final bit of this preview. Right. Biggest flop, biggest breakout, and player of the season. Let's flip it and start with the positives. Jacob, player of the season.
Player of the season. It's gonna be Vinny again, man. With the number 7.
Fair. That's an obvious shout. Farouk.
And
I think
this is
Rodrigo will get the
just to clarify, this is even if Mbappe comes, Vinny is gonna be the player of the season.
Fair enough.
I think Rodrigo will be the player of the season this year. I think he's gonna have more responsibilities than he's had in the past, and I think the because at least that ability of being in the right place at the right time, and the finishing, I think is gonna lead to a lot of highlights for him this season. So I believe I think it's gonna be Rodrigo, at least in my opinion. At least this is what I hope.
You were insinuating that in 2 years, Rodrigo might be pushed out of the club because he can't nail down a starting position, but now you believe that he might have a breakout season, yeah?
The point is, as I said to you, the team is being built in such a way that this is what it's going to lead up to. It's not about this or it's not about that. The point is, do I want Rodrigo to stay? Yeah, but that means the team has to move in a different direction, has to find different players to suit this, what we have or what we don't have. The point is, if we keep going like this, as I said, I just don't see the way certain things will work, obviously, but then that's me. I don't know jack shit. And I mean, all my calls have been wrong so far, so let's see how it goes.
People in the chat, shout out your player of the season as well. For me, player of the season would be it's kind of outrageous because it's his first season. I think it's going to be Jude Bellingham. He's going to be the difference maker, I believe. Vinny, we have seen what he can do. Rodrigo, I think we have seen what he can do as well. Obviously, I still believe that Rodrigo is going to have a next level to his game this season. But I think Jude is going to prove a lot of people wrong about how much he can contribute to the team, and he's going to be a massive success.
But that's the thing tonight. Who is he proving wrong? Like literally everything says Jude is going to be the player for 10 years, the next captain of Real Madrid. Like I haven't heard one negative thing about Jude Bellingham at Real Madrid. Who is he? Like I mean, this is the thing. People literally say he is built for this.
The thing is, he is 19 and he's British, so it isn't exactly the best combination. Remember, so many of us on this very panel, not me, but so many of you guys were saying, British talents, they don't have their, heads screwed on properly. They wouldn't be set out to, face the pressure of the Bernabeu, blah, blah, blah. But I'm just telling you, nobody was this positive until he moved here. I still remember previewing it with Diego.
I will reiterate what I have said a lot on this podcast before he was officially confirmed. I said this. If I have 100 million, do I spend it on Jude? No. But if he comes, it's fine. He's a good player that's going to add stuff. But I felt that this was the part of the team that was most saturated. Would I look, obviously, would I choose to have Bellingham on my team?
You just have a weird perspective. Saturated in terms of midfielders, yes, I agree. But do we have enough goal-scoring midfielders? I would say no, absolutely not. No chance.
He's something different, man.
No chance. To the team, and you guys will start scoring more goals.
Bro, a huge part of what makes a team successful is goals from midfield. I don't know how you cannot see that.
Like fucking look at Gundogan.
How am I not seeing that? The point is this already. Like the thing is this: if I have a winger who gets me 43 goals contribution in Vini, and a winger who gets me 30 goal contributions in Rodrigo, I expect my striker to score. I have Valverde, who gives me 10 goals plus 5 assists from the middle of the park. I know that at least I will get 10 assists from a player like a player like Toni Kroos, 5 plus goals from Luka Modric. If I can get my fullback to give me 10, 15 assists, I am done. I mean, you're talking like we haven't played with midfielders like that where they're scoring 10, 15 goals normally. We have played with Kroos and Modric. How many goals have
Fede had one season where he scored more than 10, bro. Toni Kroos and Luka Modric, have they ever scored more than 10 goals a season?
This is what I'm saying to you. We have played with a team that had Kroos, Modric, and Casemiro. How many goals did they score? Casemiro was scoring.
But I'm just telling you, it's gonna help massively. Why are you just insinuating like it's a bad thing? I don't get you.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing. What I'm saying to you is that you're saying like goals from the middle of the park, and I'm telling you like we can get goals from the middle of the park with or without Bellingham. What we are not getting right now is productivity from our fullbacks. We are not getting productivity from our fullbacks at all. If you ask me as a person, would I choose to buy a fullback or to buy Jude Bellingham? I would choose to buy a fullback. This is what I said, and this is what I'm reiterating to you right now. Bellingham coming.
Two things can be true. Like I agree with you that we need fullbacks, yeah. But Jude Bellingham is a generational talent that I think honestly believed even last summer that we shouldn't pass upon, which I'm glad we didn't. It is what it is. We will learn more throughout the course of the season, but I still believe his goals are going to make a huge difference. Right. A flop of the season. Farouk.
Honestly, I'm leaning towards either Fran Garcia, I don't know, or Mendy, either of the two of the guys. I don't know which one of them it's going to be. Honestly, I just lean towards either of them. I don't know. You can put Fran Garcia / Mendy together.
Fran Garcia, you truly believe he's going to be a flop, yeah?
I don't think. I just feel like, unfortunately, we are in such a situation that will not allow for what he needs to be done. Because the point is, if we play a 4-4-2, like he might be asked to be a winger or something like that. At least a more urgent fullback, which might leave a lot of space behind, and because of that, might be exploded. So I'm not sure how it's going to be, but this is just what I think Fran Garcia or Mendy.
Jacob.
And don't hate me for this, but I think the flop of the season is going to be Arda Güler. I don't think he's going to get the minutes that he needs. Maybe something for next season.
But then that's the thing, Jacob. Let me just ask you the story. Like maybe I can ask Sunay since he posed the question. Like, what do you mean by flop of the season? The flop is he the person who comes onto the pitch and plays and doesn't show up, or is the person, for example, let's say,
I feel like
obviously, if he's suffering from injury, you can't fault the man. That's out of his.
what I want to say, for example, is that last season Hazard wasn't playing. But if you ask me, was Hazard a flop? I wouldn't say it's a flop because he wasn't actually playing. How can I
Yeah,
categorize him as a
yeah.
flop?
Who gets to be on the pitch, who gets enough
Okay.
minutes to
Yeah,
showcase, but
exactly.
yet
Like, okay,
still
so
doesn't.
for my expectations for the season were like Brahim is like a replacement for Vinny when he needs some get some rest. Arda Güler was brought in as kind of an essential replacement. That's my takeaway, and I just don't think that he's gonna fulfill that expectation, and he's not gonna get the minutes because he's not gonna perform.
Right. So, Brahim, yeah, for you, Jacob.
No, it's Arda Güler. Brahim, I think
Arda Güler.
he's gonna have a decent season whenever he comes on as a sub.
Okay, fair. Arda Güler, right. Again, it's horrible takes, man. I truly don't see it happening, but you do you. For me, flop of the season probably would be, this might shock people, it's going to be Militao. I don't think that he is going to be really getting back to his level. I love the guy. He's Brazilian, so I have an extra soft spot for him as well. I really hope I'm wrong. Just the way things are going, just the way Militao is moving, I just don't see it happening for him this season. I hope I'm wrong. Yeah, the signs are not good. I'll just,
Man, with
put it
Militao,
that way.
it's more of like the potential is clearly there. He just has to stay focused and concentrated. And if he can find that focus, like he's gonna be like one of the best center backs in the world. And with like,
But if he doesn't, he just looks way off the pace.
yeah, he's the next Danilo if he isn't concentrated.
Yeah. I really hope he can fix up. I really, really hope, because the way he ended last year, I had so many doubts about what this man's actual qualities are. Like, I really had to second guess myself every single time I watched him play, because I wasn't safe like I used to feel with him. But it is what it is. We hope it doesn't go there. Like, it's not us wishing that these guys are flopping. It's just what we think that's gonna happen. I really hope none of these guys flop and we have a truly brilliant season. Next, breakout player of the season. Let me define it. Breakout player of the season is basically a player having the breakout season. Simply put, basically having the season where he rises to fame, or basically this season where he has the best output, whether it be goals in terms of an attacker, assists, GNA, in terms of a defender, one of his best defensively sound seasons of his career. Basically, first excellent season, right? I'll start with you, Farooq. Who do you think is going to be a breakout player of the season?
I would say Kamavinga, and the reason I would say this is because like last season wasn't his breakout. Last season he came into the team, played as a fullback, as a whatever. Whatever was needed. So I think like this will be the season where we actually see him properly, become like the star that he's destined to be, like properly take hold of, of the midfield. And I do see, a very, very prominent role for him this season. I think he's gonna excel very well.
That's a good shout. It's nice to see you, finally giving some love to Kamavinga. It has been a while you have been giving love to Kamavinga, but it's
that's
nice
the
to
thing
hear.
with me, man. If I go on what I see. If you impress me, I give you flowers. If you don't, you go into the trash. Simple as that.
Farooq is the ideal Nigerian dad. It's expected, but Jacob.
Yeah, for me, logically, there's only like one player. Rest of players, they have a starting spot in the lineup. Bellingham is a show-in. These players, new players who came in, Kamavinga is a show-in for the lineup. But the new player that we have signed, that we don't know if he's gonna like be the man for the Champions League, is Fran Garcia. So I feel like Carlo will actually figure out where he excels at, and he's gonna have a really good season, and he's actually gonna combine well with Mbappe or Vinny or whoever it is at the center of the park.
Fair. That's a good shout. For me, it's going to be Rudiger. Rudiger is going to be the guy who's going to displace either one of Alaba or Militao at the center back position. I truly believe that's going to happen this season. But fingers crossed, you never know because this man is not exactly the perfect bet to to be placed on. But I truly believe that Rudiger, from what I saw at the tail end of last season, that this man has something to prove. I believe that he's going to displace either one of Militao or Alaba. Let's go through some of the comments over here. Right. Ashik was saying, player of the season, Winnie. Biggest surprise, Joselu. So that's his breakout player of the season. Yeah, that's a good shout. Biggest flop, injuries and age will finally catch up with Danny, and it'll hurt to see that. Well, I hope it doesn't happen. Hassan says, player of the season, Jude, definitely. Hassan believes in the thing. Flop of the season, Brahim. Right. Danielson says, player of the season for me has to be Vinny Jr., echoing what Jacob thinks. Surprise of the season, Fran Garcia, and flop of the season will be Joselu.
Oh, man. Like,
All right.
I don't want him to turn into the next Mariano, man. Like, I just anything except that.
No, he won't be. Like he was always a much more prolific, well-rounded striker than Mariano. Right. Hassan says, breakout Fran Garcia. Ashik was saying, laugh now, but if it happens, then remember, I like single malt scotch and you can buy me 2 bottles of that. Fair enough. Right. That's, I guess, pretty much it. Big up every single one of you in the chat. It was kind of a long episode. Usually previews, it especially if you're previewing a season, it's going to take a while. Big up every single one of you in the chat. Big up the people who has always been sending me DMs and shit, giving us feedback. Big up all of our audio listeners as well. Again, friendly reminder, we are less than 200 away from 1K followers on Spotify. So if you haven't already, smashed the follow button, please do so already. Guys, it'll mean a lot to us. Big up our partners, Real Madrid Committee on Instagram. They're on a brilliant fan page. Do check them out. The link is in the description. Also, we have big stuff coming up this season, especially. We have someone, someone within our team, outside the Bernabeu from now on, during pre-match and post-match. So he'll be basically speaking with the fans and whatnot. So yeah, show the fan cam some love. Show all the stuff exclusively from the Bernabeu some love, man, because he's like, we have all of us here to kind of carry the thing. Sid is out there on his own doing the stuff alone, so he needs every ounce of love that you guys can show him. Fugo is in the chat. He says, with Vinny playing centre forward in recent games, do you think he'll be switched for Mbappe's arrival? Carlo did say he can score more playing central. No, I don't think so. I don't see a world where Vinny is playing centre forward. Farouk, do you think that's the case? Any chance?
You're muted, Farouk.
Sorry. I don't think so. I don't even want that to happen, actually. That's the thing. Like, I mean, as a left winger, if you ask me right now, will I take Vinicius or Mbappe? 4K, I'm taking Vinicius. V7 over Kylian Mbappe, whatever the number he has behind him. At least I know that Vinicius is not going to leave me in the middle of the night, for sure, guaranteed. Vini 100%. As a left winger, Vini 100%. Kylian Mbappe has to decide if he wants to play on the right wing or through the center. That's his problem. Then he and Rodrigo, I see they're already, hanging out so they can discuss what they're going to do. But Vini, 100% every day, left wing.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting if he's going to play in the middle, because Vini has to have. Inshallah, fingers crossed. Hassan, always love for the love, bro. Right, Ashik is waiting for you guys to get a hold of Sid Lowe and Mark Goldbridge as well. Sid Lowe is on the bucket list, hopefully very, very soon. This season, I would go as far as to say this season, we might have Sid Lowe on the podcast. It'll be a dream come true for me, 100%. Mark Goldbridge, he's always there, man. Anytime we play United next season, I have a few names lined up already. So Mark Goldbridge is going to be a very fun addition to the lineup for sure. Yeah, man, big things this season, hopefully. But show us all the love that you can show us, man. That's the biggest motivation that we have for coming on here, making this a two-way street. Chatting football to you guys. It's always something that we look forward to. And if you're new here, don't forget to smash the like and subscribe to the channel. We are on the road to 2K officially, so we hope that it happens before the end of the season. It'll be a massive milestone for us. But onwards and upwards, we really hope the season last time out, the season started out on such a high that it fizzled out, and it was such a heartbreaking way to kind of bow out of the season. This time, even though we take a little bit more time to kind of gel in and find our footing, I hope we have a much more consistent season throughout, and hopefully Mbappe comes in the next 2 weeks as well, which is going to completely change and disregard this whole preview. But we were kind of clever enough to add footnotes wherever applicable, that Mbappe coming is going to completely change the equation, how this season is going to pan out to be. But yeah, people, love for the love. Again, we appreciate all of you in the chat, man. Hassan, Ashik, Tasaliba, Fugo, all of you guys. It's always a pleasure. But until next time, people, Ala Madrid.
Hala Madrid.
Hala Madrid.